Good morning, YouTube. Today we're going to change the F1 fluid out of the Project F430.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan, this is my garage, and this channel is all about the supercar ownership experience, buying and selling them, maintaining them, DIY, working them, and today we are continuing on with the Ferrari F430 project car, getting it ready to be sold to one of you. So yes, this car is available for auction right now. It concludes on Thursday, April 23rd at 8:30 p.m. So if you want to see that live, I'll be doing a live broadcast at that time. But if you want to bid on the car, go to my website, normalguysupercar.com. There you can register to bid. It's only $10. It's non-refundable. And if you have the top bid, you're going to have to pay a $500 security deposit. And if you get outbid, I'm going to return that to you. But otherwise, that deposit goes against the cost of the car, and then you can own this beautiful F430, which we're going to have totally sorted and taken care of for you. So yes, on that site, I'm going to list everything that I've done to this car, which you can see is quite a bit. So this thing is ready to roll. An excellent car for one of you to drive and own. Go bid on it right now. So there's a lot of rumors about these F1 systems on these Ferraris, and some of it's true, some of it's not really true. And one of the things that people say is like, oh, they're super unreliable and they always break and blah, blah. And it's not really true. They do have some issues here and there, but one of the things that you can do is change the fluid in them, because if the fluid gets bad or if it starts to lose fluid and you have some leak or something like that, that's when you can get stranded on the road. In fact, one of my viewers just yesterday sent me a message asking, hey, what happened to my car? It suddenly wouldn't go into gear, and they sent me a video and pictures, and lo and behold, well, their F1 system must have popped a hose or a clamp or something, and it pissed out all of its F1 fluid. So once that happens, you're stranded. Unfortunately, these things won't go into gear. They won't drive without hydraulic pressure. We're going to change the fluid in this just to make sure it's got good hydraulic pressure and that we got good clean fluid. And what we're going to do is basically suck out the old fluid first, put in some new fluid, and then we're going to bleed the system. And in order to bleed the system, we're going to have to use a computer. So I'm going to use my Launch X431, which you can get in the description below. There's a link to it. They're kind of expensive, but they do a lot of cool functions. So I highly recommend, if you have one of these cars, probably invest in one of these computers. Okay, so what we're looking at right here is the F1 fluid reservoirs. Basically, the F1 fluid is just automatic transmission fluid. That is the F1 pump, and then behind it, you can kind of see, it's hard to see. Here, let me get a flashlight. And what I have right there lit up behind the F1 reservoir is actually the accumulator. You hear about sometimes these accumulators stop working, they stop maintaining pressure. Basically, that's an extra reservoir that keeps extra pressure on the system. So when the pump runs, it actually pressurizes the accumulator, and then the accumulator is what pushes the fluid into the system. That way the pump doesn't have to run constantly. When you hear these pumps run, they should have a consistent pitch. They shouldn't be too high pitch or too low pitch. You shouldn't go too fast or slow, and they should not run for too long. So on these F430s, when you first open the door, you'll usually hear the pump turn on, and then when you turn the key forward, you're going to hear the pump run again. So let me show you what that sounds like. So as you heard, the pump didn't run for very long at all. That means that it built up enough pressure quickly, which is what you want to hear. That means that the accumulator is working properly and the F1 pump is working properly. So those are all good signs. If you hear the pump run for like 30, 40, 50 seconds in this car, that's too long. Some of the other cars like the 355, the pump does run for a lot longer. It's a different system. It's similar. It's not quite the same. Also, another thing to check for is how long it runs between cycles. If you leave the keys on and then you turn the key forward, you let it pressurize, then just let the car sit and don't do anything, and you shouldn't hear it run for quite a while, certainly a couple minutes. If you hear it running like every minute or even 2 minutes, it might be that you've got a leak somewhere and it's losing pressure, and that's something you need to check on and be aware of. So the first thing we're gonna do is get rid of the old fluid that's in the reservoir. So we're gonna pop off the cap and then suck the old fluid out and then add some new fluid. All we're using for fluid is some Dexron 3 kind of compatible ATF synthetic fluid. So just make sure you use a high quality synthetic ATF fluid. Make sure it's like Dexron 3 compatible. So this will be sufficient. So the entire system is about 1 liter, so we're gonna use a bit of fluid, not too much. So once we get the fluid changed out, then we're gonna actually push it through, bleed the system, and change out the rest of the fluid. Okay, we're gonna pull the cap off of the reservoir. Yeah, I have to pull off this little overflow line. You can see it's got the little weird F1 system icon, which you don't really see that icon anywhere else on any other car. It's kind of a strange, unique one. So I've got a vacuum pump. I'm just gonna suck the fluid out. You could use like a turkey baster or something like that. I'm gonna use what I have, which is a vacuum pump. So, all right, we're gonna top off with some new fluid and try not to overfill it. So now we're gonna cap it off, and we're gonna run the bleed cycle. Okay, so we're underneath the car, and right here is the cover for the F1 bleeder. So we get the cover out of the way. It just has these little snaps. We undo those snaps. We can probably get this all the way out of there. There is a bleeder nipple just like on a brake. So it's got like the same type of bleeder that you would see on a brake bleeder. And so we're going to connect a bleeder hose to a bottle, and then we're going to crack open the bleeder valve and then run a bleeder program on the launch and have it so it actually bleeds all the fluid. Okay, so we pop off the cover on the nipple. If I can get it with my fingers, sometimes you need to use a screwdriver. There we go. Got the nipple cover off. Now I'm going to attach my bleeder hose. And we're just going to crack it and then retighten it just to make sure that we can get it loose before we go up top. So it's 11 millimeter. All right, we can get it loose, good. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're booting up my Launch X431. Once that gets booted up, we're going to connect the little OBD dongle to the car. We're going to power on the car. We're going to go into the Launch's bleeding section, and we'll actually bleed the system. So we'll show you that once we get it connected. OBD port is down here underneath the dash. Dongle is connected to the OBD port. Now we're going to power on the car. All right, in my Launch, we're going to open the application, and we'll just connect to our Ferrari, and we'll do the 430 right there. And system selection, we're going to go to special function on the transmission, clutch actuator bleed. So we want to do that. We're going to try that and see if we can't get it to bleed out this fluid. So obviously we're going to go underneath the car, crack the bleeder, and then hit that button. All right, let's crack open the bleeder. All right, we got a little fluid coming through. And now we'll hit the clutch actuator bleed. Okay, procedure will last 1 minute. Running procedure. And there it goes. Alright, while it's doing that, we probably want to double check that we got new fluid up top. Check the selected gear on the dashboard. Let's make sure we tighten this back up. Okay, we tighten that back up. Let's go check the gear on the dashboard. Alright, gear was in neutral, so I think we're okay. And we effectively bleeded the system. Alright, we got some fluid in here. Let's make sure we don't spill this stuff everywhere. Okay, we put the cap back on. And now we're going to top off the fluid up top. Alright, we're going to top off with some more fluid. Cap back on. Reconnect the hose. And we're done. Okay, so now that we bled the system, we're going to want to make sure that it actually goes back into gear correctly. So first thing first, we got to shut the trunk lid, because you know these cars won't go into gear with that open. So now that that's shut, we're going to go in, turn on the car, and see if we can get it to go in gear. All right, so we'll put in the key and turn the car on. And put our foot on the brake. Let's see if it goes in gear. Look at that, right into one. Let's try reverse. There we go. Very good. All right, went back into neutral. Back into one, back in reverse, back in one. See, I'm able to go back and forth pretty rapidly. That's a good sign. And we can hear the F1 pump does not run for very long. So I think we are all set. So we can see that the fluid that came out is actually pretty clear and it looks pretty good. So I'm not worried about flushing through the entire system. We purged off about, I don't know, maybe about a quarter of a liter or so, maybe a little bit less than that. This is a pretty large bottle. So I'm pretty comfortable that we got through any of the bad fluid that was in there, and certainly we bled it out so that there's no error in the system whatsoever, so we shouldn't have any issues with that. So obviously if we were trying to flush out all of the fluid in the entire system, we would just repeat that process, I don't know, 4 or 5 times maybe to get about 1 liter of fluid to go through. I actually feel pretty comfortable that this is doing pretty good. The fluid looks really clear. It doesn't have any like brown or blackness, and it doesn't smell burnt or anything like that. I think it's in good shape. It probably has been changed before, or fairly recently is my suspicions. We're good to go on that. The F1 system should be kicking ass. No air in the system. It's shifting very fast. We are ready to rock and roll. So as you can see, changing and bleeding the F1 fluid in this car is pretty easy if you have the computer. Obviously, if you don't have the computer, it's a little bit more difficult. I've heard people saying that you can just shift it back and forth between gears and it'll just keep pushing it through, but it seems like a pain in the butt. I don't know, maybe that works. I haven't ever tried that, but this works really well. The other thing is you probably could actually do this from the top side, so you may not even have to pull the bottom tray. You might be able to access it just by hanging and dangling down in there, but that might be kind of a pain in the butt, so I think you're going to be best off doing it when you already have the bottom tray off. So again, any of you that are interested in buying this car, it is up for auction right now. It ends on Thursday, April 23rd at 8:30 p.m., so go register to bid at normalguysupercar.com. Best of luck at bidding to you, and don't forget, we are also going to be doing another project car, so we're going to keep doing these project cars, and if you submit the project car that we choose, we're going to split the net profits with you 1/3 once we sell that car. So if you find a cool supercar, and it's a car that appears to be undervalued and would make a good car on this channel, well, go submit it on my submit a project car page on normalguysupercar.com, and if we select it again, you're going to get 1/3 of the net profits. It's pretty awesome. If you guys enjoyed this video, give me a like, share, and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up. Those things help out my channel, and I do appreciate it tremendously. So thank you to all of you that do that. Also, don't forget, we do giveaways at every few thousand subscribers. So if you want to get into our giveaways, go sign up as a member of the channel, buy any of my merch, or sign up to my email list on my website, normalguysupercar.com. That's also where you can buy my merch. If you do any of those 3 things, you're automatically entered for a chance to win any of our giveaways. So go do that. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. We've got a ton of car stuff coming away, so you're going to want to stay tuned. It's going to be sweet.